Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And to begin, I was thinking of going into this video. I was saying to myself last night, okay, I could see the Browns be the 7th seed in the playoffs. I could see 3 teams come out of the North, 2 teams come out of the South, 1 team out of the West, and 1 team out of the East. I could see that. And so I said, I thought Ravens would be 1. And then I thought Kansas City would be 2, Miami would be 3, Jacksonville would be 4. But then I thought in the wild card it would be Pittsburgh, it would be Houston, and it would be Cleveland. Then this morning I wake up and I get a news alert. It says Deshaun Watson's out for the year. He's undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery. And I was kind of confused about it because I thought this problem was healed. And then according to a report, I found on Twitter this morning, it was Watson wanted to be able to just shoot it up the rest of the year and say, okay, I can deal with the pain, but I just want to shoot it up. And that way I'll be okay. And the doctors insisted and told him, you can't shoot this up because if you get hit in that shoulder, in that spot again, your shoulder could fall apart. So he is done for the season. Now, does this knock Cleveland's playoff hopes? Yeah, kinda. Is they out of it? No, not with that defense. The quarterback who is taking over for Deshaun Watson is Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Thompson-Robinson had played a game earlier in the year when Watson got hurt. Didn't go well, didn't look ready, and I was like, there's no way they start him. They decide they are. Now, DTR was a success in college at UCLA. Late round draft selection, I believe 5th round, if I remember correctly. Is he going to be able to steer this ship? I have no idea from an offensive perspective. But his first matchup, he has to go against Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. And Cam Hayward. That's not an easy assignment. So, do I expect him to win this game? No, I don't. But I also think every time Pittsburgh plays, they play this kind of style of football of mistakes. Mistakes are going to help us win in the end. So, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is now QB1 as Deshaun Watson's out for the year. Next up in the news section, I would say, the Jets held a players-only meeting. Now, players-only meetings don't happen very often, especially with the good teams. You're rarely going to do a players-only meeting. The Raiders did it, where they basically aired out the grievance of, and what ended up letting Josh McDaniels go was this meeting. We told you that a couple weeks ago, or about a week ago, we said that. We said that the Raiders aired out all of it, and it was overbearing for McDaniels, and so he had Pierce, the interim head coach now of the Raiders, stand up and talk on his behalf. Pierce then said, well, no, you got to believe I was part of that 07 Giants team that won the Super Bowl, and we beat the Patriots. I was part of that. And apparently, McDaniels is like, don't ever talk about the Patriots that way, which I'm not going to go into it, but it's also strange. Just to say it's strange. You're from different places that you can expect different opinions. It's not the same opinion. That's what annoys me at times is when people have varying opinions, and yet the other person gets mad at that person having a different opinion than they do. Makes no sense. It's an opinion. They can say whatever they want. It's not fact. You can't treat your opinion as fact because it's not. But the Jets held a players-only meeting, and that was probably like, "Look, this defense is really good and this offense is really bad." You saw it in the game against the Raiders. They could not score a touchdown, and when they did get it into the end zone, it would be brought back because of penalties. So, this is the report that comes out. It says, Jets hold players-only meeting amid offensive struggles. It also says they release Michael Carter, the running back, and more moves are expected to come. Now it goes into the Jets have struggled as of late. That's an understatement. After an abysmal offensive showing in the game against the Giants in Week 8, things got worse as the Jets dropped 2 straight games to the Chargers and Raiders respectively. Zach Wilson's unit has converted 25% on third down this season, lowest conversion rate since the 2005 49ers. The Jets have gone 11 quarters, 36 offensive drives, 186 plays without scoring a touchdown. When I heard that they had said 134 when they were against the Raiders, they hadn't scored a touchdown 134 drives, excuse me. I was shocked. I was like, wow. That in any other place, we would be saying, what's wrong with this offense? But with the Jets, we've kind of expected these things to happen, and it's crazy. It is. It's very insane. But I did not know it was 186 plays from scrimmage. The Jets held a players-only meeting on their scheduled day off to air their grievances, per ESPN. The guys talked, and we had the floor, Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson said on the Bart and Hahn show. I'm assuming that's a radio station in New York. It was just us. We got to make sure we're all on the same page about what we were at and how we were going to get out of it. That was really the message. When it comes down from one of your teammates, it always hits differently. It always resonates a little bit more. Hours after the Jets locker room meeting, the team announced that they were releasing running back Michael Carter. Jets offensive tackle Mekhi Becton wrote on his social media, "This one hurts the most. I can't even lie." Carter has recorded 106 yards from scrimmage in 9 games this season and hasn't played more than 32% of the New York's offensive snaps in any game this year. He was the New York's leading running back as a rookie in 2021 with 639 yards on the ground, but clearly fell out of favor with head coach Robert Saleh and the coaching staff. Saleh told reporters on Wednesday that more personnel changes are on the way. So, basically, the decision was made that we can't have this guy around. For whatever reason, that we can't have this guy around, and moves have to be made. And I truly believe that. And I don't think it's just personnel. I think it's coaches too. Like as much as Rodgers loves Nathaniel Hackett, it doesn't work for Zach Wilson. And you see, it's frustrating to watch Zach because there's a couple drives a game he looks really good. He looks like a capable quarterback, a guy who just needs to sit and learn, and he shows something. Like he threw a nice no look pass. I think it was on the second before last drive to Lazard, where looks like he's gonna run. He pulls the linebacker and he just throws it, hits Lazard perfectly. Lazard's wide open. It was a great job. But he does less of that and more of let's just I don't know what's happening kind of thing. And that's the concerning thing if I'm the Jets is if we could get that guy who can make those passes and have that confidence to make those throws, that's all we can do. That's all we want him to do. We want him to show confidence. One of the things that has really been difficult for Zach Wilson is his lack of confidence in those throws. We saw it last year. He got benched because he had a lack of confidence. His confidence was shattered. It's the same thing here. There's times he looks very confident. He's making these throws, and that guy can play. But then there's times where you're like, man, I don't know what he's doing. It's the same thing that's happening in New England right now. Mac Jones looks like he's lost his confidence. So even when he's out there, he looks like he's lost his confidence because he's missing throws that he should make. He underthrew a tight end by like 10 yards. He overthrew a tight end. Both of them would have been touchdowns. You can't afford to have that happen to you. So I did like the fact that the Jets had a players only meeting because they're just gonna air some of these things out and give Zach Wilson some confidence to make these throws. The game against the Chiefs when they were down 17-0, he just said, F it, let's go. Let me just throw this thing. And they did. And when they did, he was making throw after throw after throw. And even when he was missing and not completing passes, it wasn't his fault. Like he was in good position to win these games. So you gotta be impressed with a team that can do that. But we haven't seen that team in over 2 months. We haven't seen it. And that's what if Zach Wilson's like that all the time, this Jets team is going in the right direction. The problem is he isn't. And this players only meeting, I hope, helped him out. Next up, Bears quarterback Justin Fields is expected to return for Week 11. Fields has been out since Week 6 after dislocating his thumb on his throwing hand. I know a lot of people were disappointed that he did not play against Carolina. But, there's 2 reasons I think he didn't play against Carolina. One, they wanted to make sure he was 100% for the latter half of the year. You're not going anywhere. And 2, to play 1 week or to play on a Sunday, and then the next time you play on a Thursday of that week, it's too close together. So maybe that was just more of a safety precaution, which I believe it was. So I think, this defense has shown that they can make strides for the Bears. I just want this offense to do something. I feel like we have a lot of teams that their defense looks pretty good, but their offense is terrible. And that's been the way it's been the whole year. And next up, we're going to talk. The Lions signed a veteran pass rusher in Bruce Irvin. According to his agent, Lions signed pass rusher Bruce Irvin ahead of the big stretch. Veteran will start on team's practice squad. Irvin, 36, will help the Lions pressure. And Bruce is not what he once was. I mean, no one is when you're 36 years old compared to when you're like 24. But Bruce is still a good pass rusher. He was with the Seahawks, and he contributed. Former draft pick out of West Virginia in 2012, won a Super Bowl title. Signed with the Raiders in 16, and then bounced around the Raiders after the Raiders. Went to Atlanta, Carolina, Chicago. Had another couple stints with the Seahawks. He had 10 starts last year and posted 3.5 sacks and 28 tackles and 9 quarterback hits. You don't know what it's like to have a veteran pass rusher. Yes, the numbers are down, but he garners attention. He garners attention. You have to go and pull and say, oh, okay. And yes, he's not as quick-footed as he used to be, but he knows how to get to the quarterback. He knows what he's got to do. And that's why having a veteran guy like Bruce Irvin, or even a Jadeveon Clowney in many ways, they know how to get to the quarterback. The numbers may not show it every time, but they can get to the quarterback. They can make you have to think twice on what you're going to do. And that's going to help this Lions team. So that's only going to make them better and better on a defensive line perspective. Is he just a pure pass rusher now? Yes. But he could help. Why not? Next up, CeeDee Lamb made some comment after the game against the Giants. Lamb is the first player in NFL history to have 10 plus catches and 150 plus yards in 3 consecutive games. Never happened before. Quote from Lamb, "I'm the top wide receiver in this game, no question." And that obviously garners attention when you play for the Dallas Cowboys, of course. But is he wrong? I don't know if he's wrong or not. That's the question that really has to be asked. Is he wrong? Because he won NFC Offensive Player of the Week. The only 2 people, at least in the NFC side, that you can say that have any line to that throne are A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson's been out for about 5 weeks now. A.J. Brown was on a tear, but still, like, it's really hard. And if he's not the best, you can at least put him in the discussion because you can put him up in there with Jefferson, Brown, Chase. You can put him up there, and I don't know if you're wrong. If he's not the number 1, you can at least say, okay, he's in the discussion of number 1. And finally, ESPN, and this is mostly for me. So, after the game against the Giants, well, actually, before the game against the Giants, ESPN went and said, "There's no excuse if the Cowboys lose to the Giants." No one expected the Cowboys to lose to the Giants, by the way. I think anyone said it the Giants could beat the Cowboys. I don't know what they were on, to be honest with you. I didn't think Tommy DeVito could do it, and he couldn't. Not against this Cowboys front. But in the next time they aired, like, Dak became the first Cowboys quarterback to throw for over 400 yards. He's done that 10 times. Every other quarterback has done it 9 times in Cowboys history. So technically, that makes Prescott an all-time great. Technically, in terms of that stat. And instead of ESPN talking about how good Dak Prescott is, or was in that game, or was this past month, they decided they didn't want to talk about Dak 5 total touchdowns. They wanted to talk about Dak as, is Dak Prescott an all-time great for the Cowboys? That's what they wanted to say. And so that's what they said. And it was stupid because the reason it was dumb, like, it was so dumb because, of course, they're going to say no. Because it's a rich history for quarterbacks. Don Meredith, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman. You could put Tony Romo on that list if you want. Those are the 3 guys, Don Meredith, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman. Not necessarily in that order, but you could put them on there. Those are the 3 guys. And if you're saying, is Dak Prescott an all-time great? No, he's not. It's just so you could win an argument. It's not because you wanted to talk about the game. You wanted to win an argument. You realize, oh, he's been good. Well, actually, better than good. He's been awesome the last month. Besides the San Francisco game. And I understand who these opponents are. Don't get it twisted. I understand it. Chargers, you go against the Rams after the bye week. You go against the Eagles, and then you go against the Giants. He's been really good in those games. The game against the Chargers, you won because of him. The offense sputtered quite a bit, but they opened it up, and Dak looked really good. The game against the Rams, Dak looked really good. Defense helped out a lot. Didn't have to have him do a whole lot. Game against the Eagles, Dak, you're in that game because of Dak Prescott. Even though you lost, you are not in that game if another quarterback is taking those snaps. You're just not. And in the game against the Giants, Dak has torched the Giants. I think, if I remember correctly, he's beaten the Giants 12 straight times. He hasn't lost to the Giants since his rookie year. So, the Cowboys, like, Dak has been on a roll. 70% completion percentage, over 1,000, almost close to 1,300 yards. He was been phenomenal. But they had to talk about the fact that he is an all-time great. That because they have to win an argument. They realized, hey, we can't win an argument. Dak's been good. The offense has been pretty good. And that defense is, even though they're not putting as much stats up now, they're still awesome. They don't have to do that. But they had to win an argument. So they said, well, is Dak an all-time great quarterback? That's what they did. The dumb argument. It's dumb. I really think you can't be an all-time great unless you're Tom Brady, who was playing, or you have to be done. The Tom Brady's, the Joe Montanas, the Terry Bradshaws, you could say, yes, they're all-time greats when they're playing. But the others, I think you have to wait till they're done. Just like in basketball, just like in hockey, just like in baseball. There's a couple plays you can say it in history. Okay, they were the best. Nolan Ryan was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Randy Johnson was one of the best players in baseball. You could say that. In hockey, Wayne Gretzky. You could say that. What Sidney Crosby's doing for the Penguins right now. In basketball, you can talk about LeBron James that way. You could talk about Steph Curry that way. But you can't talk about the other players that way until they're done, because otherwise you don't know. It's all up for debate at that point. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, we won't say Dak is an all-time great quarterback for the Cowboys until he's done playing, which hopefully won't be for a long time. But then Shannon Sharpe, who was bashing him on First Take, he does a show with Chad Ochocinco called Nightcap. It's a YouTube-based show. They talked about the Cowboys, and every week he has an excuse of why Dak has been this good. He has an excuse every week. This week, Chad was reading the numbers. 5 total touchdowns. Completion percentage of 70%. 404 yards. 1 interception. And the one thing Shannon Sharpe took away from it was he threw an interception. Where Josh Allen leads the league in turnovers. He has 13. And he has had the most since 2018 when he came into the league. And yet no one talks about it. And I'll leave it with this. ESPN has also attacked Lamar Jackson in a similar way, not on like the same level, but a similar way. And it's every time the Ravens lose, the question keeps being asked: is Lamar doing enough for what he's getting paid for? Or can you trust Lamar? I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. To me, the Ravens are the best team in football. And I understand the record doesn't show it compared to the Eagles, but I think the Ravens would beat the Eagles because I think defensively for the Ravens, they're that good. And they could stop Smith and Brown as like the Cowboys did. Smith and Brown didn't really ever get going and ever got over 100 yards. So you saw, and the Ravens are much better as a defense than the Cowboys are. So in the offense of the Ravens with Lamar Jackson and Odell Beckham Jr. and Mark Andrews and all these Bateman and all these guys, like they can do these things and they've starting to figure it out. But the question is always when they lose, can you trust Lamar? Is Lamar doing enough for what he's getting paid to do? The answer is yes. It's a dumb question, but it's so they can go and talk about it in a negative way. And I don't know if you saw this was on Family Guy a long time ago. And it's a sign that's being held up, and it was a meme that was going around at the end of Sunday night. And it was showing it had Josh Allen's face on the top and Dak Prescott's face on the bottom. And I really said, well, it should be Josh Allen. It should be Patrick Mahomes. You could even put Jalen Hurts in this discussion on the top. On the bottom, you could put Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, and that would fit my argument. How this would fit my argument would be the top part is considered those 3 guys are considered gunslingers, even though they're turning the ball over at a freakishly high rate, where Lamar and Dak are not, but when they turn the ball over, they can't read defenses. Even though Dak has the lowest turnover percentage in the league, and Lamar is, I believe, in the top 10 of that. So they don't turn the ball over. But when they do, it's splattered all over the place. Where when Allen, Mahomes, and Hurts do the same thing, They're just gunslingers. It's not their fault. It's just that's the way the NFL is. They want what's gonna get them clicks, and how can they do it? And ESPN knows that all too well, and they are infesting everybody. The only way that you won't get this flu, this bug, is if you don't watch ESPN to force them to change, which I don't know if they will. And finally, a game recap. After heading into week 11, our record is 34-21. And our first game is a Thursday night game, Bengals and Ravens. Hopefully, this is the game that Al Michaels does not fall asleep in. Because every game for the past 10 weeks, not 10 weeks, but for the past 8, 9 weeks that he's called a game, it's either he's falling asleep or he just looks disinterested or sounds disinterested. In this game, it will be exciting. The Ravens will win this game. I don't know what is happening with the Bengals, but the Ravens win close game 35-31. Next up, also the Ravens are 4-point favorites, so I have them covering the spread. Next up, Cowboys, Panthers. Panthers are getting plus 11, and it will probably be higher. Probably go up by an entire point. The last time when the Cowboys played the Giants, it was at 16 points. It went up to 17 points before game time. They went up a whole point before game time. I have the Cowboys winning 30-10, and Dak continues to be on a roll. Next up, we have Steelers, Browns. Browns are favored by 4. This was before the news came out about Deshaun Watson, so I'm expecting anywhere between this drops a couple points. So maybe it's only a pickup game, or even the Steelers might be favored. I had the Steelers winning before the injury news came out. Steelers win 20-14. And Monday Night Football, probably the best Monday Night Football game of the year. Super Bowl rematch. Chiefs, Eagles in Arrowhead. Well, in GAHA Stadium at Arrowhead, even though I still call it Arrowhead because that's far superior than, let's say, multiple letters. It's Arrowhead to me. Let's just call it Arrowhead. I have the Chiefs winning this one, and it's 28-24. It's a similar score to what happened in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs won 23-20, I think, or 38-35 in that Super Bowl, or 31-28 in that Super Bowl. This is 20-24. I trust the Chiefs defense over the Eagles offense at this point. I don't see how the Chiefs or the Eagles are going to be able to defend it. And I do think, is this a possible Super Bowl rematch in the Super Bowl? Actually, possibly. But I think Kansas City has the leg up. And that is the predictions for Week 11. Let me know in the comments who you have winning in Week 11. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.